What's up, guys? CJ here, and today we've got a really interesting story to talk about. I mean, this week, the Wall Street Journal, of course, broke the massive news that Joe Manganiello would be playing the villainous Deathstroke, Slade Wilson, in the Batman standalone film. And that article mentioned that the casting confirmation came from part of a larger interview that the paper had conducted with Geoff Johns, his first since accepting his new job as the real pilot of the DCEU, and John Berg, a Warner Brothers executive vice president, working very closely with Johns to shepherd DC films. Well, that interview hit the web late Thursday and revealed some interesting information for the future of the DCEU with Johns at the helm. And while most of the info had to do with Justice League specifically, there are a few tidbits about the DCEU as a whole. So let's go through a few of his comments about the DCEU right now and what they could mean for the DCEU's future. First things first, Johns confirmed that a tonal shift is in store as a whole. I mean, Johns kind of acknowledges DC bought into the gritty, super serious phase, maybe a little bit too much, but for more, let's take a look at his quote. Mistakenly, in the past, I think the studio has said, oh, DC films are gritty and dark, and that's what makes them different. That couldn't be more wrong. It's a hopeful and optimistic view of life. Even Batman has a glimmer of that in him. If he didn't think he'd make tomorrow better, he'd stop. In that same vein, Justice League will address Batman's actions in Batman v Superman, the torturing of criminals, the killing of many criminals, as was kind of set up at the end of Batman v Superman. Of course, at the very end, Bruce is saying that he fails Superman in life, he won't fail him in death, he's going to kind of change his ways. On to the next major point, much of the film slate past Justice League and Aquaman is being looked at very heavily. It's under heavy scrutiny, and a direct through line to the planned Justice League 2, currently set for 2019, is actually no longer guaranteed. But for more on that, let's go to another quote. We're trying to take a really hard look at everything to make sure we stay true to the characters and tell stories that celebrate them. So taking a step back there to reevaluate all the characters before they move on to a major showdown in Justice League 2, potentially Darkseid as was rumored, but lastly, John Berg confirmed WB and DC are actually bummed about the negative reviews. The negative critical feedback did heavily influence the future of the DCEU, with Johns and Berg both working closely with Chris Terrio to rewrite the Justice League script and kind of get it accelerated towards hope and optimism. And honestly, I think this is just a great move on DC's part. It was definitely a large part of why Geoff Johns was brought in the first place, was bringing it back around, getting it back to kind of the comic book roots, the roots of the characters, which it had kind of strayed from. I'm really not sure how the trends toward the grit and grime really started with DC movies. I mean, I guess maybe they just saw that the Nolanverse was really popular because of its realistic bent, and then they also saw Marvel was going to go kind of the lighter, quip-fest route, and they kind of found that their niche was going to be like a darker, more serious film franchise for comic book fans. But I mean, even there, you aren't getting all of your comic book fans, because DC Comics are not all dark and gritty. Even Batman, who is super serious and realistic, has lighter-hearted moments. I mean, even the Nolan movies, even though they were realistic and kind of gritty and hard-edged, they were very funny. They had a lot of jokes in them, especially Batman Begins. So personally, I hope they can maintain this epic scale that they're looking for and that Zack Snyder has already found in certain instances, but combine it with a more balanced tone that better represents the characters that they're trying to adapt. I'm not gonna lie, the phrase accelerating has me a little worried. I mean, rushing things too often doesn't turn out well, but I do have a lot of faith in Geoff Johns, and I am very cautiously optimistic for both Justice League and the future of the DCEU. But this is where I want to hear from you guys. Let me know in the comment section down below, what do you think of these statements from Geoff Johns and John Berg and the future of the DCEU? Are you excited? Does it look like it's moving in a direction that you want? Or are you bummed? Do you think that they're just responding mostly to the negative reviews and that they should just stand strong? So let me know in the comment section down below. Don't forget to smash that like if you like what you saw and or I guess listen to. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button if it's your first time checking us out on the channel, and consider supporting us on Patreon for access to exclusive goodies. We're reworking all of that Patreon stuff right now, but we'll have more details on that hopefully in the coming weeks. Signing off, this is CJ, and I'll see you next time.